State's most watched news starts now.
Welcome to the KOAM Morning News where it's 5 o'clock. I'm Michael Hayslip. A windy week. That's what we've had so far. It should come as no surprise that we begin the Skywatch Storm Tracker with wind advisories lasting until 7 o'clock this evening. And we're also picking up some light rain on the Skywatch Storm Tracker for this early morning. Not going to be an elongated affair. It's not going to stick with us all day long. We can actually go straight with the radar, take off the sweeping radar, see what's really hitting the ground right there is going to be up to the north. And we don't have any lightning. It's nothing serious. We do have some additional cloud cover, though, than we've had past couple of days. Of course, that's what keeps our temperatures very, very mild as we sit right now in the low to mid 60s already. And we're not going to see sunrise till about 6:37. Look at that warm swath cut right from the southwest up to the upper plains, and that kind of forces the thunderstorm activity there. But if you look at what's coming right now through Utah, portions of Colorado and Nebraska, that's that low pressure system off the Pacific Northwest that is going to bring us thunderstorm activity to close out our week and head into the weekend. Still able to make it up into the high 60s today, so let's kind of get into tonight and tomorrow. There's a band of rain that we see just around 10 to midnight, and then as we push into Thursday morning, begins to pick up. That green gets a little darker right there, and then it tilts on its side, almost goes parallel on us all the way from Friday into Saturday as temperatures drop back down into the 50s. We're going to see some heavy rain with this, and by the time we get done with our thunderstorm activity next week, we're looking at anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of rain accumulation. Flooding will become a concern by the time we get to Sunday. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt says residents can visit their loved ones in nursing homes. The announcement came during a news conference at St. Anne's Skilled Nursing and Therapy in Oklahoma City. Visitation of long-term care facilities first closed in Oklahoma in mid-March of last year, a decision Governor Stitt says may have helped save many lives. Now, after almost a year, Stitt and health officials are working to safely bring families back together. According to reports from the Kaiser Family Foundation, as of February 14th, weekly new deaths among nursing home residents have decreased by 83% since vaccinations began. Of course, there will still be rules to keep residents and their families safe, even if both the resident and the visitor have been vaccinated. Masks are still required, and proof of that vaccination also required. If only either the visitor or patient are vaccinated, then a negative COVID-19 test and mask are required before the visit. Same goes if neither the resident nor visitor have been vaccinated. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson signs a legislation banning nearly all abortions in the state. Supporters hope it'll force the U.S. Supreme Court to revisit Roe v. Wade. Governor Hutchinson had expressed reservations about the bill, which allows the procedure only to save the life of the mother and does not provide exceptions for those impregnated by rape or incest. Arkansas is one of at least 14 states where legislators have proposed outright abortion bans this year. While legislation won't take effect until 90 days after the majority Republican legislature adjourns this year's session, that means it cannot be enforced until the summer at the earliest. Abortion rights supporters say they plan to challenge the ban in court before it takes effect. Mercy's walk-in COVID vaccine clinics reach people who may have been overlooked. Joplin's Mercy Hospital hosted another walk-in clinic providing COVID-19 shots for anybody who is eligible. Some viewers asked how the hospital is offering vaccines to walk-ins when other providers require appointments. The pharmacy director tells us when they scheduled the walk-ins, they had worked through all of the people on their waiting list. So that's when they started the walk-ins to make sure no one was missed.
We're still scheduling those appointments as well. Really, we're trying to work through reaching those individuals with the vaccine that we have available, knowing that we're getting ready on Monday the 15th to move into that next phase.
Hospital has administered roughly 9,000 doses of the vaccine, and that does not include hospital staff. Kansas Attorney General Derek Schmidt says he's running for governor in 2022. AG has been a frequent foe of Governor Laura Kelly during the pandemic, sparring with her over key issues like the statewide mask mandate and regulations closing churches. Schmidt is the second major Republican to enter the race after former Governor Jeff Collier. For local schools, spring break is on the horizon. You got many students either traveling home or maybe going to other parts of the country, and that increases concerns of COVID-19 transmission. Missouri Southern's still solidifying its plans to help keep students safe, but says it does have one tool that's been helping slow the spread on campus. Haley Ward, a member of the COVID task force, says the health center and IT department have teamed up to help keep the campus safe.
I know there have been talks about possibly quarantining or anything like that, but students should really just be really well aware of their symptoms using our Campus Clear app that we have, and by using that, tracking your symptoms, tracking all that, then we could lessen the spread.
Ward says although they do not know if students will need to quarantine upon returning to campus, they encourage students to use the app and continue social distancing. We find ourselves pushing up on 507. Take a look at our weather trend. It's going to be a nice warm day. It's going to be windy though. Still got the wind advisory in effect all the way until 7 o'clock tonight. We're already talking about temps in the 60s right now. And like I said, the sunrise isn't going to be till about 6:37. So push up into the high 60s. Heavier cloud cover than what we've had. A little rain in the early morning up to the north. But of course, we know the big stuff is still on its way. Here's what we have pushing through our Wednesday. It kind of clears off there. Now, Wednesday night into Thursday, that's when we get a band that stretches from the southwest to the northeast, and watch this thing turn on its side just in time for Friday. And it goes stationary on us. Thing doesn't want to budge. Just sits there from Friday into Saturday. Also brings us some cooler temperatures, that's for sure, down to the 50s for Saturday and Sunday. We will have to concern ourselves with flooding by the time the weekend is over. Let's go ahead and plan on knowing those roads that flood and being prepared to find alternative routes by the time we get to our Monday morning commute. Let's look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Colgan Panthers hosted Berean Academy. It's the 2A quarterfinals last night. We got your highlights right here. Another surge could arise around the U.S. with spring break fast approaching. We're going to look at latest guidance from the CDC and a new House bill in Oklahoma requiring students pass a citizenship test before they can earn their high school diploma. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Basketball team made the Final Four last season, but the pandemic cut the season short before they had a chance to play in the state semifinals. So last night, Galena with a shot to return to the Final Four, hosting Wellsville. It's the 3A quarterfinals, and in the first quarter, it's Brett Sarwinski. Baseline, I'll take that reverse layup. Sarwinski, game high, 22 points. Still in the first quarter, Tyler Little rebounded the putback. Little had 12 points, 16 rebounds. Home team goes up 6 going into the second quarter. Deacon Henson. Short little pull up. Nice looking shot. Henson back to work, gets the steal, and finishes. Nice left hand. Galena going back to the Final Four, second straight season. They beat Wellsville 55-48. Pittsburgh boys back in the state tourney again this year. They were on the road against DeSoto in the 5A quarterfinals, and even with Javon Grant scoring 23 points, the Wildcats win it 67-42. On the girls' side, the Colgan Panthers host Berean Academy. It's the 2A quarterfinals. A rare chance for Colgan to play at home in the state tournament. And as our own Jacob Leonard shows us, a chance for this team to make program history.
The Colgan girls hit the floor against Berean Academy Tuesday night. The Panthers aim for their first ever state tournament win.
Make them not want to come back to Pittsburgh, Kansas, all right?
First quarter, Lily Brown, rebound, put back, and the foul. Game tied at 7 going to the second. In the second, Riley Root, 3-ball gives Colgan the lead. Berean Academy, though, up 3 at halftime.
Let's go. Energy, let's go. 16 minutes, do not let up, all right? I want you to good diving bodies. If that ball's on the floor, you better be on the floor. You got this right now.
Into the third, the senior, Caitlin Crossland, beats the buzzer. Panthers within 2 going to the fourth.
Come on, let's go. This is our game. Panthers!
In the fourth, Lauren Yagmore, nice look to Brown. Colgan gets in front and doesn't look back. Yeah! Panthers get their first ever state tournament win, 41-34.
Can't describe the feeling. You know, it's something that I've never experienced in my life as a player, as a coach. It just means so much. What you guys showed tonight was total grit. You never thought you were out of that game. I'm so happy. I don't even know what to say. Thank you. It only took 10 years, right? So now we're there. We're not done. What did I tell you? We're not going to lose another game, right? We're not going to lose another game, okay? I don't know who we play. I don't even know who it would be. Once we beat Girard the last game, I told them we weren't going to lose another game, and that's our goal, not to lose another game. You know, we control our own destiny. You know, once you get up there, anything's possible. And this, we've never done it in school history, so who knows what we're going to do when we get there.
Congratulations to the Panthers. Congratulations to Coach Farabi. I've had the honor of knowing her and her family since she was in high school, going to state tournaments. And that excitement that you saw right there, that's what makes high school sports fun. Colgan moves on to play Valley Heights. That's going to be in the Final Four Friday night. Tip-off, 7 p.m. in Manhattan. Let's go to the 4A bracket now. Lebec County also at home, facing Lewisburg in the quarterfinals. It was a thriller. Lewisburg wins at 49-48 as Lebec County finishes the season 19-3 overall. Nevada boys district champions for the first time in 23 years as the Tigers beat Webb City 52-49 over the weekend to claim the Class 5 District 12 title. So now Nevada hosting Logan Rogersville in the sectional round of the Class 5 bracket. We'll pick it up in the second quarter. Cannon Gibson. Nope. That worked off glass. Wildcats lead by 8 at the half. To the third, Jonathan Dunn. Whoa. Grabs a rebound, goes up. Basket and foul. 24-19 now, Logan Rogersville. All right, here come the Tigers. Logan Applegate to Lane McNeely. Nevada starts to get rolling now in the fourth. The pass, McNeely on the wing. Oh! Hits a three-pointer, cuts the lead to 6. McNeely for 3. Gives the Tigers a 3-point lead. Nevada outscores Logan Rogersville 23-8 in the fourth quarter and wins this thing 51-46. Class 4 sectional last night, East Newton boys at Ava. This one tied at 18 to start the second half. Here comes East Newton. Patriots take the lead. Got the steal. Kyson Lyman misses shot, gets his own rebound. Give me that. Patriots go up by 5. They're going to hold on to win this thing. 36-34. Lucas Kimbrough leads East Newton with 12 points. East Newton advances to its first ever state quarterfinal. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, Royal Reaction.
After Harry and Meghan's bombshell interview with Oprah, the Royal Palace responds and a well-known TV host quits. I'm Deborah Alfarone with the growing fallout.
And to check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. A little past 5:17 on this Wednesday morning. No surprise. Guess what we've got here in the 4 states? We've got another wind advisory for today. The only difference in our color codes right here, the ones throughout southwest Missouri and the central portion of southeast Kansas, it's just an expiration time. These darker ones, they're going to expire at 5 p.m. I went ahead and did the elongated ones for the lighter ones. They expire at 7 p.m. It's 6 1/2 dozen. What's the difference? Wind gust tracker, we've seen it as much as 40 miles an hour already this morning. Now, it is providing us with very, very nice temperatures. There's a live look outside the mothership. Obviously, we got a ways to go before we get to sunrise, but we're still sitting at 63 degrees and the benefactor of a little bit more humidity than what we've had past couple of days. So that's kind of nice. We are able to escape the red flag warnings. 64 in Parsons, 61 in Monette, 63 in Fort Scott and Pittsburgh. Not all this able to actually hit the ground. You see the blue on the sweeping radar. It's not necessarily, it's so dry up there, evaporating before it gets there. We're seeing some light rain though from the north central portion of the 4 states all the way up to Kansas City. If you got any road trips, it's not going to have any travel impact on you. Weather Almanac for this March 10th, average high 58. Obviously, we already blew that out of the water. 82, 1972. How about that? Back-to-back days that 1972 held our record for March 9th and March 10th. And here's the warm, warm air right on the dividing line of it. Haven't seen a lot of thunderstorm activity as of yet. But this is that low pressure that we were paying attention to off the Pacific coast, as it will continue its southeasterly drag toward us and bring us thunderstorm activity here by the time we get to the weekend. We know what's coming. Weather trend for today, high 60s. Cloud cover really keeps us from warming up too much. Now, as we get a break from our morning rain, afternoon's looking great, no concerns. And then tonight into Thursday morning, that's when we begin to develop. And what we'll see this thing do is take almost a horizontal shift from Thursday evening into Friday. And then once we get into Friday, we get stuck with it. Doesn't want to go anywhere. We're going to have to worry about flooding concerns here because, like I said, it's just a stationary front. It's elongated, and it just wants to hang over us and bring us anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of rain by the time we get to Sunday. Cooler temperatures on the backside of it. Biggest threat, though, is going to have to be paying attention to flooding concerns over the weekend. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page. Students in Oklahoma may soon have to pass a naturalization test to graduate from high school. Part of a House bill that would require students to pass the civics portion of the test before they get their diploma. The House Speaker explained it's exactly what is required from someone from another country seeking citizenship. Measure has passed the House. 14 other states have it. And if passed in the Oklahoma Senate, the legislation would take effect at the beginning of 2022. Now, according to a 2018 Woodrow Wilson National Fellowship Foundation, try saying that one 5 times fast, nearly 2/3 of Americans cannot pass the citizenship test. Our question to you, should students be required to pass that test before graduating high school? Let us know what you think. You can also vote in our Insta poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with Health Watch next.
Spring break is a time to relax, maybe take a vacation. But this year there's continued concern about COVID-19 and how this break could cause another surge around the U.S. Mandy Gaither with more on spring break guidance from the CDC.
After a year of being cooped up, many may be eager to seek solace in a spring break trip. It's exactly what some officials and public health experts are concerned about.
We are very worried that there's going to be a convergence of people here and a real problem in the aftermath.
In favorite destinations like Miami Beach, cheap flights and discounted hotel rooms are making the area even more appealing despite the pandemic, forcing some leaders to brace for what may come.
It's really the bars and those other kinds of gatherings that might become the kinds of super spreaders that I think we saw a year ago.
The CDC has made its position clear.
Avoid travel, crowds, and poorly ventilated spaces.
The agency says travel increases your chance of getting and spreading COVID-19 and recommends staying home to stay safe. If you must travel, the CDC says to get vaccinated if eligible and wait 2 weeks after a second dose. Get a viral COVID test 1 to 3 days before travel and keep a copy of those test results with you in case it's needed. Don't travel if you test positive for COVID-19. Check travel restrictions before you go and continue to take the same health measures. Wear a mask, avoid crowds, stay at least 6 feet away from others, and wash your hands. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
You can also view cases in the U.S. and cases by state on the CDC's COVID data tracker. Patients who had surgery within 6 weeks of a COVID diagnosis were at increased risk of death, and that's according to new research in the journal Anesthesia. Doctors recommend delaying surgery when possible for at least 7 weeks after a positive test or until symptoms fully resolve. Many dementia patients are taking drug combinations that can actually contribute to memory loss and increase the risk of injury and death. A University of Michigan study found nearly 14% of dementia patients are on 3 or more medications that act on the brain and nervous system. Experts say that exceeds recommended guidelines, and families and providers should review prescriptions regularly. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
No surprise, guess what? Wind advisory. 3rd consecutive day we've either been in a red flag warning or wind advisory. Only difference between the two color codes as far as the tan goes, one expires at 5 p.m., one expires at 7. While we don't have the red flag warning, please be very, very careful. If you got to burn anything outside, give your fire department a call That's what they're there to help with. Overnight, we begin thunderstorm activity that's going to carry us into a wet end of the week all the way through the weekend. Looking at anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of accumulation. Let's go ahead and plan on the Monday morning commute having flooded roads. And of course, you can always find the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
Oklahomans can now see their loved one in long-term care facilities. What you need to know before your visit. Plus, Missouri Southern takes special COVID measures ahead of spring break. And Arkansas passes legislation banning nearly all abortions in the state. Why it could have national implications.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. A little bit windy out there. Actually, a lot bit windy out there. Hold on to your hats. And here's Michael with a check on your forecast.
A little bit windy out there. Oh my goodness. 3rd consecutive day we've either had the wind advisory or red flag warning. Now, red flag warning is still lifted, but if you got to do anything outside, once again, consult your fire department. Ask them. That's what they're there for. More than happy to answer any of your questions. All right, the lighter tan, that's the one that expires at 7. The darker tan, that's a wind advisory that expires at 5. And like I said, it doesn't really matter. Now, really seeing most of the rain hit the ground up to the north central portion, the sweeping radar being a little bit finicky with what's up in the atmosphere. Not all of this that we're seeing is actually able to hit the ground. Overcast skies to begin with, trapped in all that heat from yesterday though. It's very, very pleasant outside if you can fight the wind. Anywhere from low to mid 60s already. Skywatch storm tracker with the warmer temperatures from the southwest all the way up to the upper plains. That's that low pressure system that we were eyeballing that was off the Pacific coast here earlier this week. Now making its way through Nebraska and portions of Iowa, going to sink down upon us by the time it's all said and done. Still going to be a delightful afternoon. Like I said, just the wind. That's all we really got to worry about because we're not going to pick up action excuse me, until we get to tonight into Thursday morning. And then once we do, it doesn't stop. It gets on us throughout Thursday, takes a horizontal tilt to it, so it almost ends up sideways here on Friday, and you'll notice it's stationary, just doesn't want to budge. And so that's why we've got those flooding concerns, because by the time we get into Saturday and Sunday, 3 to 5 inches, we'll see pockets that even pick up 6 inches of rain by the time we get into next week. So let's go ahead and plan on flooding concerns for our Monday commute. I think our ground's going to be dry enough. We'll be able to get through Thursday and Friday okay, but also too, you got to be out on the road Saturday and Sunday. Know that you're going to run into some flooded roads as well over the weekend, Tanya.
Yeah, just be prepared when you go out, that's for sure. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson has signed legislation banning nearly all abortions in the state. Supporters hope it'll force the U.S. Supreme Court to revisit Roe v. Wade. Governor Hutchinson had expressed reservations about the bill, which allows the procedure only to save the life of the mother and does not provide exceptions for those impregnated by rape or incest. Arkansas is one of at least 14 states where lawmakers have proposed outright abortion bans this year. The legislation will not take effect until 90 days after the majority Republican legislature adjourns this year's session. That means it can't be enforced until this summer at the earliest. Abortion rights supporters say they plan to challenge the ban in court before then. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt says residents can visit their loved ones in nursing homes. The announcement came during a news conference at St. Anne's Skilled Nursing and Therapy in Oklahoma City. Visitation to long-term care facilities first closed in mid-March of 2020. A decision Stitt said helped to save many lives. Now, after almost a year later, Stitt and state health officials are working to safely bring families back together. According to reports from the Kaiser Family Foundation, as of February 14th, weekly new deaths among nursing home residents have decreased by 83% since vaccinations began.
Because of that progress, now is the time to reunite Oklahoma families and let them visit their loved ones safely. Because isolation and depression are very real threats for Oklahomans who have been separated from their loved ones in these facilities for almost a year now.
Of course, there will still be rules to keep residents and their families safe. Even if both the resident and their visitor are vaccinated, masks are still required, and proof of that vaccination is also required. If only either the visitor or patient are vaccinated, Then a negative COVID-19 test and mask are required before visitation. Same goes if neither the resident or visitors have been vaccinated. Missouri's House passes a bill to allow guns on many forms of public transit in the state. If enacted, the measure would allow people with concealed carry permits to bring firearms on public transportation. Firearms still would not be allowed on Amtrak. People without those permits would also be allowed to bring unloaded guns as long as they do not also carry ammunition with them. The bill now goes to the Senate. Anderson police say a suspect shot at an officer during a chase. It happened on Sunday. Police say an officer tried to stop a maroon Jeep on Route F and Highway 59 in Anderson. The driver of the car did not stop, and the chase continued to the intersection of Anderson Street and West State Highway 76. Police say at that point, a passenger in the SUV got out and shot at the officer with a shotgun. The officer returned fire and the passenger got back in the car. Police say the passenger got out again about 100 yards away, but there were the people in the car ran, and police did not find the suspects, but they did find the abandoned SUV and shotgun. Authorities say the officer was injured and was taken to the hospital. For local schools, spring break is on the horizon, and many students will be traveling home or to other parts of the country. That increases concerns of COVID-19 transmission. Missouri Southern is still solidifying its plans to keep students safe, but they say they have one tool that's been helping them slow the spread on campus. Haley Ward, a member of their COVID task force, says the health center and IT department have teamed up to help keep the campus safe.
I know there have been talks about possibly quarantining or anything like that, but students should really just be really well aware of their symptoms using our Campus Clear app that we have. And by using that, tracking your symptoms, tracking all that, then we could lessen the spread.
Ward says although they do not know if students will need to quarantine upon returning to campus, they encourage them to use the app and continue social distancing. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. Major Biden, well, he's in the doghouse for biting a security officer. People on Twitter rushed to defend him. Plus, royal reaction after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's interview with Oprah. We'll have the latest, but first, it's 5:37.
A little light rain, north central portion of the 4 states this morning. This is nothing severe. We got the big one coming late tonight. And it's going to take us into the weekend. We'll still be able to make it up into the 60s. Going to be a good-looking, windy Wednesday. Of course, wind advisories, nothing new. Had those past 3 days. And then once that rain starts, it's going to carry us all the way into next week. We'll have flooding concerns anywhere from 3 to 5 inches, pockets of 6 inches by the time it's all said and done. We'll come back with World Watch next.
Backcraft in Baxter Springs is now hiring. Work in a climate-controlled environment and earn up to $1,000 in bonuses your very first year.
Good morning, I'm Tanya Bach with your KOAM News Update. Missouri's House passes a bill to allow guns on many forms of public transit in the state. If enacted, the measure would allow people with concealed carry permits to bring firearms on public transportation. Firearms still would not be allowed on Amtrak. People without those permits would also be allowed to bring unloaded guns as long as they do not also carry ammunition with them. The bill now goes to the Senate. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson signs legislation banning nearly all abortions in the state. Supporters hope it'll force the U.S. Supreme Court to revisit Roe v. Wade. Governor Hutchinson had expressed reservations about the bill, which allows the procedure only to save the life of the mother and does not provide exceptions for those impregnated by rape or incest. Arkansas is one of at least 14 states where lawmakers have proposed outright abortion bans this year. The legislation will not take effect until 90 days after the majority Republican legislature adjourns this year's session. Here's Michael with today's forecast.
Going to be a beautiful Wednesday, albeit a windy one, and enjoy it because we've got one more day before thunderstorm activity kicks in for Thursday morning and carries us all the way into next week. And of course, you can always find the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
Topping World Watch, the Queen responds to allegations of racism as part of the growing fallout. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's highly watched interview with Oprah Winfrey earlier this week. CBS's Deborah Alfarone has more as Commonwealth nations are now asking whether it's time to dump all association with Buckingham Palace.
48 hours after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's bombshell interview with Oprah,
we did everything that we could to make it work,
where Meghan alleged one royal family member raised concerns over the color of her and Harry's son Archie's skin.
If he were too brown, that would be a problem. Are you saying that?
I wasn't able to follow up with why, but if that's the assumption you're making, I think that feels like a pretty safe one.
Buckingham Palace issued a statement saying, in part, the issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. To be clear, Oprah said Harry told her the member in question wasn't the Queen nor Prince Philip. The statement went on to say, while some recollections may vary, they are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately. The allegation of racism has struck a chord in so many, including among British Commonwealth nations. A growing number of residents in places like Jamaica are now wondering whether it's time to break from the monarchy.
It's part of the whole legacy of colonialism that we need to get rid of. In the 21st century, we can't be hanging on to the Queen as our head of state.
Around 12 million UK viewers watched the interview, one of them Good Morning Britain host Piers Morgan.
This is a 2-hour trash-a-thon.
Morgan quit his job with the network after making controversial comments about Markle, which included questioning whether she really had contemplated suicide. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News.
UK's media watchdog says it's launching an investigation into the ITV show Morgan hosted. Organization says it received more than 41,000 complaints over Morgan's comments. This morning, Morgan wrote in a tweet, "On Monday, I said I didn't believe Meghan Markle in her Oprah interview. I've had time to reflect on this opinion, and I still don't."
He's leaving BBC, by the way, this morning.
That's Lumberjacks started taking down oak trees for the reconstruction of Notre Dame Cathedral's fallen spire. Around 1,000 oak trees from more than 200 French forests were selected for use in the rebuilding of the spire. All are scheduled to come down by the end of March. That way their sap will be prevented from entering the material. The next step is for these trunks to be laid out for up to 18 months before they are ready for construction use. The process is all part of French President Emmanuel Macron's plan to rebuild the monument exactly as it was before the fire severely damaged the landmark. Tokyo Olympics kick off this summer, but foreign spectators are banned. The Japanese government has decided to prohibit international visitors from coming to National Stadium and other venues due to the coronavirus pandemic. Officials want to avoid large crowds, citing concerns over the emergence of new COVID-19 variants and sluggish vaccination campaigns. 2020 Tokyo Games, scheduled to begin on July 23rd, were postponed by a year because of the coronavirus outbreak. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for something to talk about.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, students in Oklahoma may soon have to pass a naturalization test to graduate from high school. We're asking if you think that they should be able to pass a citizenship test before they get that diploma. Glenda Finley says, sounds like a great idea, and asks what could go wrong. However, Glenda says the skeptic in me wants to holler, remember unintended consequences. Michelle Pacini says, I am for this, and actually every politician now needs a refresher course on it. And nowhere in the Constitution does it say you can pick and choose, specifically the First and Second Amendment. Dave Sorek says, I believe that civics was required in 8th grade as an admission requirement to high school back in my day. About a dime every time I said it, Dave, every time I said it. And Rocky Cunningham says not only should they be required to pass such a test, but results need to be recorded and reflect in funding for each school district accordingly. And we do love you, Aunt Pat. Nikki Oliver says yes, it needs to be taught. And Douglas Blake says it sure would beat out the classes that teach how to be offended. We need young leaders that know what they need to fight toward. As far as our Insta poll goes this morning, right now, an overwhelming 91% of you say yes. Students should be required to pass the citizenship test before graduating high school. Continue to have your voice heard, Facebook or KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with the news you need to know for you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A final vote on a pandemic relief bill is expected in the House today. The $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan includes funding for COVID-19 vaccination programs, schools, and local governments. It also provides increased unemployment benefits and $1,400 stimulus checks for most taxpayers. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson has signed legislation banning nearly all abortions in the state. Supporters hope it'll force the U.S. Supreme Court to revisit Roe v. Wade. Governor Hutchinson had expressed reservations about the bill, which allows the procedure only to save the life of the mother and does not provide exceptions for those impregnated by rape or incest. Arkansas is one of at least 14 states where lawmakers have proposed outright abortion bans this year. The legislation will not take effect until 90 days after the majority Republican legislature adjourns this year's session. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt says residents can visit their loved ones in nursing homes. The announcement came during a news conference at St. Anne's Skilled Nursing and Therapy in Oklahoma City. Visitation to long-term care facilities first closed in mid-March of 2020. A decision Stitt said helped to save many lives. Now, after almost a year later, Stitt and state health officials are working to safely bring families back together. A Joplin man, Zachary Talley, gets 15 years in prison for shooting at people in a car with a shotgun last year. Talley pled guilty to charges of unlawful use of a weapon and first-degree child endangerment back in December. The shooting happened in February of 2020. Talley was riding in a vehicle with his girlfriend when he leaned out the window and shot at another car and the two people inside. The victims, Eric Smith and a 16-year-old, were not hurt. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
There's a familiar sight. We've got wind advisories again today. We've had gusts close to 45 miles per hour. That's kind of unusual for this early in the morning, but it gives you an idea how hard it's coming in. Also remove the sweeping radar there. We are picking up some late Wednesday morning rain. This is not the thunderstorm activity that'll be on us here by the weekend, but we do get a little bit coming down here on Wednesday morning. Weather trend going to keep us in the 60s, low 70s all day long. Going to be delightful temperature-wise, just going to have to fight the wind. Then we can get into the activity late tonight into Thursday. And once it begins Thursday morning, watch this thing just hang over us. That's about as stationary as you can get, as a definition of stationary. That's why we're going to see anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of rain by the time Sunday rolls around. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
The White House confirms one of the Biden family dogs bit someone, but denies he's in exile. Janine Moose has more on Major Biden and the misbehavior of a former first dog.
First he's in the White House, now he's in the doghouse, the subject of biting questions.
And did he bite somebody?
And personality analysis.
A bit on the wild side, that he barks, that he's been known to charge.
And now the White House has confirmed.
On Monday, the first family's younger dog, Major, was surprised by an unfamiliar person and reacted in a way that resulted in a minor injury to the individual, which was handled by the White House medical unit.
3-year-old Major bit a security person? Biden's dog, not such a good boy after all. Twitter rushed to defend him. I hope that you know you're still a very good boy, even though you made a mistake. Both Major, acquired from his shelter, and the much older Champ were sent back to the Bidens' home in Delaware, but the White House insisted that was pre-planned because Jill Biden was on the road. The First Lady said recently,
I've been obsessed with getting our dog settled.
Lots of new people and stuff at the White House to agitate a young dog.
They have to take the elevator. They're not used to that. They have to go out on the South Lawn with lots of people watching them.
And so much attention.
Another dog's question, okay.
It was a doozy asked by the New York Post.
Can you also reassure the public that Major Biden will not be euthanized as a result of this?
Well, certainly Major Biden is a member of the family, so I can assure you that.
She said the dogs will be back at the White House soon. Remember when President George W. Bush's dog Barney bit a reporter?
Ooh! Did it get you? I got bit by Barney.
The president's daughter Jenna later said,
Barney was a real jerk.
Wow. Instead of calling Major a jerk, fans are tweeting, "Free Major," even if he did mistake a person for a chew toy or a tennis ball. He still got his master's ear.
Aw, poor Major. Well, hope everything works out for him. Michael?
I think you'll be all right. I think I'll be all right.
I think so too.
I knew it wasn't too bad when I found out Jeannie was doing the story. So I knew no guys won't be in trouble. It really couldn't have turned out too bad. What? All right, I question on the KOAM News Now Facebook page this morning. Oklahoma is considering requiring high school students to pass a citizenship test before earning your diploma. That idea coming out of the Sooner State. We'll kick back up with John Tribune, who says absolutely they should. Good morning, KOAM.
Suddenlink's best internet offer.
I don't know where I left off here. We'll go back to Rick Norton's comment. Rick says this is about the Oklahoma students and passing the citizenship test, and then I ran into a microphone issue, and we just went from there. Rick says, indeed they should. He says, just think what they could learn. Will Batiste says, yes, absolutely. Our Constitution still stands for everyone, regardless of what side of the fence you're on. It is absolutely imperative they learn all they can. Don't let media outlets, big corporations, and politicians think for you. Will says, think for yourselves. Bobby Whittington says it's important, but I think first we need a government that follows it to lead by example. They want them to learn something that's disrespected all the time. And Guy Hansen says, I'm more concerned that tests for DACA recipients or any other citizenship test be mandatorily given in English. Guy says 1/4 of DACA recipients are technically illiterate in English. Nearly half speak only a little English. It's just as alarming to know that almost 40% of Americans could not pass the citizenship test. He says offering the test is a great idea, but Guy says, I am fed up with anything that stinks of mandate. Instapoll this morning, right now, an overwhelming 90% of you say yes. High school students should be required to pass a citizenship test before graduating. Let's go ahead and check out our weather trend for today as our temperature is going to hover in the 60s. Got a lot more cloud cover than what we had past couple of days. One thing that is consistent, the wind advisory lasting all the way through the afternoon hours. Future track feeding us rain to begin on Thursday, and once it starts, stationary front going to carry us all the way into the weekend, anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of rain by the time we get to next week. Be back right after this.
Oklahomans can now see their loved one in long-term care facilities. What you need to know before your visit. Plus, Missouri Southern takes special COVID measures ahead of spring break. And Arkansas passes legislation banning nearly all abortions in the state. Why it could have national implications.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. It sure is windy outside, but some much needed rain could be on its way very soon. Here's Michael with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, it may be much needed, Tanya, but by the time we get to Sunday, we're going to be sick and tired of it. I guarantee you that much. Hope you're not tired of the wind because it's still moving in from the south and doing so, gusting up to 40 miles per hour. Wind advisory throughout the entire 4 states and also picking up some light rain. This is the original band that we had. Now we're starting to generate just a little bit more down to the south. No thunderstorm activity. It's coming in pretty light. And this is not part of the larger band that's going to hang around for the entire weekend. 62 in Joplin. Let's go 63 in Independence and 61 right now in Monette. Now this band that we got actually extends to the upper plains. Warmer temperature dividing line right there. That's the low pressure system that we're looking at that's moving out of Utah into portions of western Nebraska. Still going to be a delightful day. Mostly cloudy skies, highs up into the high 60s. Then we can talk about what's going to develop here late tonight into Thursday. We begin with some heavy rain out to the west. Watch this thing tilt on its side for Friday, and that's why it's called a stationary front, because it does not want to move anywhere. It's going to carry us all the way into Saturday. So by the time we're said and done, not only with the heavy bands of rain, but the time period, quite frankly, the fact that it goes all the way into Sunday. We're looking at anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of rain. Flooding will be a realistic possibility by the time we get to the commute on Monday. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Michael. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt says residents can visit their loved ones in nursing homes. The announcement came during a news conference at St. Anne's Skilled Nursing and Therapy in Oklahoma City. Visitation to long-term care facilities first closed in mid-March of 2020. A decision Stitt said helped to save many lives. Now, after almost a year later, Stitt and state health officials are working to safely bring families back together. According to reports from the Kaiser Family Foundation, as of February 14th, weekly new deaths among nursing home residents have decreased by 83% since vaccinations began. Of course, there will still be rules to keep residents and their families safe. Even if both the resident and their visitor are vaccinated, masks are still required, and proof of that vaccination is also required. If only either the visitor or patient are vaccinated, then a negative COVID-19 test and mask are required before visitation. The same goes if neither the resident or visitors have been vaccinated. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson signs legislation banning nearly all abortions in the state. Supporters hope it'll force the U.S. Supreme Court to revisit Roe v. Wade. Governor Hutchinson had expressed reservations about the bill, which allows the procedure only to save the life of the mother and does not provide exceptions for those impregnated by rape or incest. Arkansas is one of at least 14 states where lawmakers have proposed outright abortion bans this year. The legislation will not take effect until 90 days after the majority Republican legislature adjourns this year's session. And that means it cannot be enforced until this summer at the earliest. Abortion rights supporters say they plan to challenge the ban in court before then. Well, spring break is coming soon, and with it, an increased risk of students bringing COVID-19 back to campus. KOAM's Bronnie Sorotsky looks at how MSSU will address this and try to keep their campus safe while giving students a break.
Spring break is normally a time for students to have a week to unwind from the pressure of academics. For college students, it means going home or on trips. But as the pandemic lingers, doing so could potentially trigger a rise in COVID-19 cases. That's what happened at Missouri Southern last fall.
So when it came to fall break, we didn't have a quarantine afterwards, and we saw that there was an increase in cases. What we did for our Thanksgiving break is that we actually took the last 2 weeks of our classes, so finals as well, and we made them online.
Haley Ward, a member of the university's COVID-19 task force, says there is concern that the campus could see this again.
There are definitely concerns, and that is something that we have talked about on the COVID task force.
They don't know if they will have students quarantine upon their return to campus yet, but place an emphasis on using their Campus Clear app.
Campus Clear is an app that our health center uses with IT to basically track our symptoms and let you know if there's anything wrong, when you should go to the health center.
Due to the virus, senior pre-med student Cade Winfrey plans to stay on campus and will use the break to take care of personal business.
This year I knew spring break would look a little different. So what I did is I planned all my appointments, medical and dental.
He says although there is concern for a spike in cases, the break is important for students' mental health.
The best option is to give students this break because we figure at this point the most detrimental thing is endanger students' mental health.
The university just hopes that anyone planning to travel for the break practices habits like mask wearing and social distancing. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
MSSU's spring break will be from March 22nd through the 26th. Well, something new in Pittsburgh. Instead of an art walk, there's going to be an art crawl. Local artists will display their work in several businesses across Pittsburgh, hopefully allowing for more social distancing. It'll be Saturday, May 1st through Saturday, May 8th.
I know there are definitely a few people that would rather we have it our regular way, but they're just happy that we're having an event as opposed to, last year we had to cancel both events and we did a virtual art walk online in October, but yeah, everybody's really missing the full-blown event, but people are also respecting the whole social distance aspect of it too. So,
Organizers say in order for this event to work and continue, people should wear masks and social distance 6 feet apart. 6:07.
Already gusting 40-45 miles per hour in from the south. We've got some light rain up to the north and generating more down in the southern portion of the 4 states. This is light rain. It's not going to have any bearing on any travel this morning. Tonight into tomorrow, that's when the action really picks up. We're talking about heavy rain, throw some thunder and lightning in there as well, and watch this thing just hover over us all the way from Thursday to next week. Going to be an elongated affair. We are going to have flooding concerns by the time we get to our commute Monday morning. Tanya?
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, COVID economy impact.
For the past year, the pandemic has been disrupting and reshaping the economy. I'm Nancy Chen with a look at the impact on businesses and jobs and what we can expect in the future.
Plus, a 78-year-old goes for her 20th world record in powerlifting. And another Wildcat Wednesday, we'll hear about a group providing vaccine resources to Southeast Kansas residents. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Money Watch this morning, Thursday marks 1 year since the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus outbreak a pandemic. The shutdowns we saw last year had a massive impact on the economy and devastating some sectors much more than others. Nancy Chen reports.
Fry's Electronics started in 1985 and operated 31 stores in 9 states. But last month, the company decided to close its stores for good.
It's very sad to see Fry's going down like this.
Many brick and mortar retailers were struggling before the pandemic. Now Fry's joins a list of well-known apparel and department stores forced to shut down partially or completely in the past year.
It's unlike anything I've ever seen, and I've covered retail for almost 20 years.
Coresight Research CEO Deborah Weinswig says more than 8,700 stores closed in 2020, and she projects 10,000 more will shutter this year.
The worst is still yet to come?
The worst is still yet to come, yes. And it's several-fold, right? It will be permanent store closures. It will be retailers closing flagships where the rent is the highest.
When the pandemic hit, the stock market nosedived, but was able to end the year at record levels. Jobs took longer to recover from the massive shutdowns. The unemployment rate jumped from 3.5% in February 2020 to 14.7% in April, eventually dropping to 6.2% last month.
There's still about 10 million Americans who are officially unemployed.
Mark Hamrick from Bankrate.com says jobs are expected to grow this year as life gets closer to normal. But it's not clear what the new normal will look like. Whether people streaming at home will fill up movie theaters, if takeout eaters will dine in again, or if business travel returns after a year of virtual meetings.
The question for the future really is how many of those things will stick? How many of those will try to leave behind?
There's no questions about online shopping. It's more popular than ever and will continue to take a toll on traditional retail stores. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
Not all brick and mortar retailers are struggling, though. Coresight Research says discount operations, including dollar stores, opened almost 1,700 locations in 2020. Well, your favorite sparkling water will add a little extra spark to your day. Perrier has released its first ever energy drink. It has 99 milligrams of plant-based caffeine, the equivalent of a cup of coffee. Give me some. The caffeine comes from organic green coffee and yerba mate extracts. The drinks come in 3 flavors: grapefruit, pomegranate, and tangerine. They're available as single flavor packs or packs of all 3. Just in time for barbecue cookouts, Beyond Meat is beefing up its partnership with Walmart. The plant-based meat company says 400 Walmart locations nationwide will start selling its Beyond Sausage Hot Italian starting this week, and it will expand its Frozen Cookout Classic Value Pack to 500 Walmart locations in the U.S. this week. That's it for Money Watch. Let's toss it over to Michael for our forecast.
Tell you what, if you want to cook out this evening, I'd get it done now before the rain sets in. Now, make sure you're careful out there. Wind advisory is still in effect all the way until 7 o'clock. Difference between our color codes here, the darker tan set to expire at 5 p.m. I went ahead and did the lighter tan there just to make sure it's an elongated affair and everybody knows that it's going to be windy all day long, as we've had gusts in excess of 45 miles per hour already. Look at that, 50. Let's double check that real fast. I saw 50 pop up in Chanute. Look at that. I mean, we are just barreling in from the south right now. Here's a live look outside of Television City, where we're off to really a nice looking start. It's kind of cool with the cloud cover and whatnot. Of course, she doesn't like it when I go backward like that on the computer. Now did it. Now, there we go. Nothing like what we've had lately with technology. Anyway, we're sitting at temperatures right now that are in the 60s, thanks in part to that southerly wind that's coming in, albeit at 50 miles per hour. And we are picking up some light rain. We can kind of take away the cloud cover here. This just generated down to the south, working its way up through the northern portion of southeast Kansas. This one just about to kick out of southwest Missouri. This is nothing severe, and it's not really part of what we're going to be able to get later tonight into Thursday, all the way through the weekend. For our Wednesday, temperatures going to be in the high 60s, low 70s, even with the cloud cover. That's because of the wind. Now tonight, this is when we begin to generate action out to the west, tilts horizontally on us on Thursday night into Friday, and hangs with us all the way into next week. We'll get thunder, lightning, but the biggest concern is going to be the amount of rain that we pick up. We're talking about 3 to 5 inches here by the time we wrap up the weekend. Cooler temperatures on the backside of it as well, as we'll sink down into the low 60s here by the time we get to daylight savings time. Be back with more KOAM Morning News and a Wildcat Wednesday right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, whatever your excuse is for not exercising, it's not good enough. That attitude comes from a determined power lifter who's going for her 20th world record. And as Fox's Veronica Meadows reports, she's 78 years old.
The Royal Oak Gym is 78-year-old Nora Langdon's second home. 13 years ago, Langdon, who was a realtor at the time, wanted to get in shape, so she came here.
It was intimidating, but I said, I'm not going to look at everybody. I'm just going to look at my trainer and keep going. And he keeps pushing me, so I keep going.
She watched us getting ready for a powerlifting meet and asked a question. I never forget it. The guy in the overalls doing that? And I said, yeah. So she came and watched us at her meet, said she wanted to do it. Yep.
Art Little coaches Langdon. At first, he says he was apprehensive because at the time, Langdon was 65, but she was determined. So they started with the basics. Soon after, Langdon discovered lifting was her new passion.
When I squat, this is what I say. I say, Holy Spirit, fall on me. And I just do it and come right on up.
Langdon ended up blowing away everyone's expectations. She set 19 world records for her age group and isn't slowing down. She says she deadlifts close to 400 pounds, squats 380, and bench presses up to 185.
She's been really an asset to the gym and to me and to the whole powerlifting field. To see somebody that age doing what she's doing, it's a blessing.
Langdon has some advice for us. She says anyone can get in shape at any age. The key is never giving up and having faith.
Get up off that couch, go walking. Walk you maybe a mile starting, then you end up with 5 miles. You just have to be consistent and keep doing it. And don't let your mind or people tell you can't.
Michael Jordan, you got to catch up. This is the GOAT here. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, she just keeps on breaking her own records.
Langdon's training to set another world record. She's going for that one in the next few months, and her next competition is this weekend. New data has found women tend to report more adverse side effects to the COVID-19 vaccine than men. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Food and Drug Administration, more than 13 million vaccine doses were administered from mid-December through mid-January. Of those, nearly 7,000 adverse side effects like headaches and fatigue were reported. CDC says about 79% of those were in women. An independent panel of experts on clinical recommendations now suggest annual lung cancer screenings include people as young as 50 and those with shorter smoking histories. This is a change from previous guidelines. that recommend annual lung cancer screening for adults ages 55 and up who have a 30-year smoking history and either still smoke or quit within the past 15 years. The new guidance recommends current and former smokers ages 50 and up who have a 20-year smoking history have an annual CT lung scan to screen for lung cancer. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We've seen it come in as strong as 50 miles an hour this morning. And no surprise, we've got wind advisories all the way until the evening hours for the entire 4 states. Temperatures going to be in the high 60s, low 70s later on today, kind of overcast. And then we get ready for Wednesday night / Thursday / all weekend long rain. Once it moves in, it just kind of settles over us. Going to elevate those flooding concerns. The longer it hovers, we're looking at 3 to 5 inches by the time we get to Sunday. Let's anticipate flooded roads for the Monday morning commute. Back right after this.
Oklahomans can now see their loved one in long-term care facilities. What you need to know before your visit. Plus, Missouri Southern takes special COVID measures ahead of spring break. And Arkansas passes legislation banning nearly all abortions in the state, why it could have national implications.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Well, if you like wind, you got it today. Michael joins us with the first look at your forecast.
Hey, well, it's a good thing there aren't any leaves on the trees outside of Television City here because the wind just take them straight off if they were already there. 62 degrees is where we stand. That is not a wind gust. That is sustained coming in at 24 miles per hour. Our humidity a little bit better than what we've had past couple of days. Nice to see it up in the 60%. Wind advisories for southeast Kansas until 7. The only difference in color there is they're set to expire at 5 in southwest Missouri. I went ahead and went with the elongated period of time. Starting to pick up a little light rain through northeast Oklahoma. Then we've got a little band on the north side of Highway 400. This one just about to kick out of southwest Missouri. Still very comfortable outside temperature-wise, ranging from the low to mid 60s as the warmer temperatures from the southwest actually penetrate all the way into the upper plains. That's our low pressure system making its way through Utah into Nebraska right there, and it's going to be the rainmaker for us into the weekend. Very, very windy today. Highs in the high 60s, low 70s. And then tonight, that's when we pick up the action as it develops out to the west. Once it does, it'll tilt horizontally on us. Stationary front. Definition of stationary, thing doesn't want to move. Doesn't want to move Thursday, doesn't want to move Friday, doesn't want to move Saturday, doesn't want to move Sunday. It's just going to stick around. We'll get some lightning and thunder, but really the biggest concern is with the heavy rain that moves in there on Saturday. We will have flooding concerns as we'll see 3 to 5 inches of accumulation, pockets even up to 6 inches. Tanya?
All right, keeping an eye on that. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt says residents can visit their loved ones in nursing homes. The announcement came during a news conference at St. Anne's Skilled Nursing and Therapy in Oklahoma City. Visitation to long-term care facilities first closed in mid-March of 2020. A decision Governor Stitt said helped to save many lives. And now, after almost a year, Stitt and state health officials are working to safely bring families back together. According to reports from the Kaiser Family Foundation, as of February 14th, weekly new deaths among nursing home residents have decreased by 83% since vaccinations began. Of course, there will still be rules to keep residents and their families safe. Even if both the resident and their visitor are vaccinated, masks are still required, and proof of that vaccine is also required. If only either the visitor or the patient are vaccinated, then a negative COVID-19 test and mask are required before visitation. Same goes if neither the resident or visitors have been vaccinated. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson signs legislation banning nearly all abortions in the state. Supporters hope it'll force the U.S. Supreme Court to revisit Roe v. Wade. Governor Hutchinson had expressed reservations about the bill, which allows the procedure only to save the life of the mother and does not provide exceptions for those impregnated by rape or incest. Arkansas is one of at least 14 states where lawmakers have proposed outright abortion bans this year. The legislation will not take effect until 90 days after the majority Republican legislature adjourns this year's session. That means it can't be enforced until this summer at the earliest. Abortion rights supporters say they plan to challenge the ban in court before then. A Joplin man, Zachary Talley, gets 15 years in prison for shooting at people in a car with a shotgun last year. Talley pled guilty to charges of unlawful use of a weapon and first-degree child endangerment back in December. The shooting happened in February of 2020. Talley was riding in a vehicle with his girlfriend when he leaned out the window and shot at another car and the two people inside. The victims, Eric Smith and a 16-year-old, were not hurt. Mercy Hospital offers a COVID-19 vaccine walk-in clinic. Hospital held clinics both yesterday and the day before and were open to Missouri residents who were eligible for the vaccine. We've heard from some residents with questions about the clinic and the hospital's waiting list. KOAM's Zach Dodge asked the hospital and has some answers.
Joplin resident Karen Hemingford saw an opportunity and took it.
I was just ready to be vaccinated.
She wasn't on any waiting lists and didn't have an appointment, but was one of several to get a dose of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine at a walk-in clinic at Mercy.
Like everybody else, ready to get on with things, get out. I love to travel. Haven't been able to do that.
It's been very busy, but it's been exciting too to try and reach those individuals that haven't been able to get the vaccine so far.
Boyd explains that a recent shipment of Pfizer vaccine was used to get doses to eligible residents on their waiting list, as well as hold the walk-in clinic so they can make sure no one is missed.
Really, we're trying to work through reaching those individuals with the vaccine that we have available, knowing that we're getting ready on Monday the 15th to move into that next phase.
But some viewers have reached out to KOAM, saying they've been on Mercy's waiting list and should be eligible, but haven't received a call from the hospital.
It's technology, unfortunately. So whether or not our list may not be functioning properly, or if questions weren't necessarily, boxes weren't checked the way that they should be, even zip code, because we do have to only vaccinate Missouri residents at this time. And so if they feel like they should be receiving their vaccine and they have signed up on mercy.net but haven't received a call, please go ahead and call us or come on in. And we want to try and get them taken care of.
In Joplin, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Boyd tells us of the roughly 1,100 doses in the last shipment, around 800 were given to walk-in patients. Mercy has administered roughly 10,000 doses of the vaccine altogether. For local schools, spring break is just around the corner, meaning many will be traveling home or to other parts of the country, raising concerns for COVID-19 transmission. Missouri Southern State University is still solidifying its plans to keep students safe. One student shares why staying on campus due to virus concerns helps them get ahead in their academics.
A lot of us are staying home. A lot of professors are giving us additional study material over spring break. So I'm using it as a time to study without the intensity of my academic schedule basically. So just getting ahead in academics and studying and getting ahead in some of my classes.
Missouri Southern spring break will be from March 22nd to the 26th. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. COVID relief.
President Biden's American Rescue Plan is expected to pass the House today, then it goes to the president's desk. I'm Deborah Alfarone in Washington with that and easing COVID restrictions across the country.
Plus, for our Something to Talk About on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, we're asking, should students be required to pass the citizenship test before graduating high school? We're going to let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
Light Wednesday morning rain, not part of the thunderstorms that we will develop later on tonight into tomorrow. One thing that is not light, that is the wind. We've had gusts of 50 miles an hour. And so no surprise, wind advisories throughout the 4 states. Highs around 70 degrees. And like I said, tonight into tomorrow, the rain begins. Takes us all the way into the weekend, anywhere from 3 to 5 inches. Flooding will be a concern by the time the weekend's over. Be back with Nation Watch right after this.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, Congress is about to pass President Biden's massive coronavirus relief package today. Combined with the growing number of vaccinations, Americans and businesses are slowly seeing life return to normal. CBS's Deborah Alfarone is on Capitol Hill with more.
House Democrats are expected to pass the $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill this morning, sending it to President Biden's desk.
I'm so excited, I just can't hide it.
The bill includes $1,400 stimulus checks extra unemployment benefits, and a new child tax credit that Democrats say will help lift nearly 10 million children above or closer to the poverty line.
With cutback hours and being a single mom, anything helps at this point.
Brianna Proudfoot works in the hard-hit tourism industry. She and her son moved to Nashville just as the pandemic began.
Childcare has been our biggest issue since moving here, actually. Finding reliable babysitters that don't charge more than I make.
Today, President Biden will host an event at the White House with Johnson & Johnson and Merck to discuss their partnership to make more vaccines.
On January 20th, there was a 7-day average of 890,000 shots per day. Today, we're averaging 2.17 million shots.
Nearly 10% of eligible adults have been fully vaccinated.
I've already seen people getting more comfortable about coming inside.
Businesses like Nick's Restaurant in Wisconsin are starting to serve more people as restrictions ease up.
I remember having 100 people in here, no big deal, and I turn around, I see there's 25, 30 people, and felt a little busy.
In Texas, the state's mask mandate and all capacity restrictions expired last night. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Alaska has opened up vaccinations to anyone 16 and older that works or lives there. The first state to do so. Alaska has fully vaccinated over 16% of its population. Legendary political reporter Roger Harrison Mudd has died. Mudd was known for his work at CBS News covering Congress, serving as the weekend anchor and primary substitute for Walter Cronkite. His family says he passed away peacefully in his sleep Tuesday after complications related to kidney failure. While at CBS, Mudd earned 5 Emmy Awards and a Peabody for his reporting. CBS said Mudd was not only a hero in the Washington bureau, but a journalist of enormous integrity and character. He was 93 years old. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our something to talk about.
He went to school with Tom Wolfe. Imagine what that classroom must have been like. Roger Mudd and Tom Wolfe in the same class. Yeah, you walk into North Carolina, you think you're the smartest dude in the room, and then those two show up in the same classroom, and you just go, I'm just going to sit in the back. It'll be cool. Speaking of the classroom, that's what's on our KOAM News Now Facebook page and the morning Insta poll. As students in Oklahoma may soon have to pass a naturalization test to graduate from high school, asking if you think it should be required to pass what's known as the citizenship test. Colleen McGuire said, pretty sure I had to take civics in 6th and 8th grade, but they want to mandate it in high school? Okay, why does this have to be a mandate? Colleen wants to know why it's not automatically taught. Jason Scott says if you take it in high school, it's one less thing to take in college. Most colleges make you take a civics exam as well. And Steve Ames says maybe it will help younger people understand the importance of the Constitution. Continue to roll your comments. Appreciate everybody's engagement this morning. Now, on the Insta poll, an overwhelming 94% of you say yes, students should be required to pass the citizenship test before graduating from high school. Continue to roll your votes. Make your voice be heard. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll come back, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right after this.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, John Stark, member of the United States Navy. He served from 1942 to 1946 in World War II. His hometown, Fort Scott, Kansas. We are proud to salute John Stark, our four-state hero.
The birthday list begins with a smiling Kelsey Phillips. Kelsey, with Tanya and I were admiring that wonderful bow and that great hairdo that you have. She turns the big number 1 today.
And I'm loving the smile, too. Nolan Jean Bugny, turning 4 years old this year. Got a little soccer fan there. Nolan is in Pittsburgh.
Happy birthday, Nolan. Kane Bailey, a 6th birthday. Talk about cool hairdos. Love it, Kane. He celebrates the big number 6, AC/DC fan as well. He's in Joplin.
All right. And Hannah Rattery, turning 10 years old this year. Looks like we got a cheerleader there. All right. Hannah is in Frontenac.
B Square, Brooklyn Butler. She is now 11 years old. Brooklyn, a happy birthday to you in Chitopa.
All right. Michelle Downen, turning 12 years old this year. Michelle celebrating in Sheldon, Missouri.
out to the Berg, where we find Kaylee Brand celebrating her 12th birthday. Kaylee, have a great, marvelous Wednesday.
Jackson Addis celebrates birthday number 13 this year.
Wait, who that is? I know that dude. All right. Semi-related. Oh, I am related to him. Teenager. All right, Jackson. Behave yourself. Tell your grandmother I said hello, by the way.
Looking good in that hat.
Tell your dad I said hello too, my man. Love that kid. Can't believe he's 13. Dylan Inch, he is 18. Oh, look at that. Little throwback, little sharp dressed young man right there. Now he's 18 years old. A happy birthday to Dylan in the knack.
Like that sly look on his face there. In Columbus, Mike Thomas turning 18 years old this year. Happy birthday, Mike.
I like that little Columbus Titan pride right there. Jonathan Gauthier, he is a music education student at Pittsburgh State. And Jonathan, on this 21st birthday of yours, I want you to know that you've got love from mom and dad.
All right. Heather Sinclair, celebrating birthday number 33 this year. Hope it's a great one for you, Heather, in St. Paul.
Shane Wade, put a couple of 4s on the board. Mr. Wade, he's celebrating his birthday in Pittsburgh.
All right. Brian Kotala turns 51 this year in Oswego. Happy birthday to Brian.
Regina Richardson, well, she is also in Oswego. A happy birthday to Regina. She turns 54.
All right. And in Columbus, turning 62 today, it's time to celebrate for Ronnie Tedlock. There with the catch.
In Weir. Oh, nice. Nice one, Ronnie. That is Miss Charlotte Forth, and she is celebrating her 90th birthday. Congratulations and happy birthday, Charlotte, in Weir.
All right, and we've got another Columbus birthday. This one goes to Karen Grizzle. Hope you have a great day today, Karen.
All right. We've been, because it's been a while since we had a York show up, and we got 2 of them. We've got Brent and Marianne. They're celebrating their 31st anniversary. They're our longtime KOAM neighbors, and you guessed it, this would be the parents of our own Will York. Now, a little backstory here. Will's the one responsible for putting together all these pictures, all this information that we get. And so, Brent and Marianne, I want to thank you for the marvelous job that you did raising Will. He is absolutely a boon and a pleasure to work with, and we're so fortunate to have him. You couldn't have raised a better young man right there. Will, don't let that go to your head. I'm talking to your parents when I say this, all right? It's not a reflection upon you. Thank you, Brent and Marianne, and a happy anniversary.
All right. Look who's celebrating a birthday today. It's our very
Who
own
that is?
CBS Weekend anchor and reporter extraordinaire, Chris Warner.
Love that dude. Absolutely love that dude. It's called a fun person right there. Happy birthday, C-Dub. Got one more. Brian Lywine, I'm going to give you a screen all to yourself, sir. You deserve that when you celebrate your 56th anniversary. Brian is in Fort Scott. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A final vote on a pandemic relief bill is expected in the House today. The $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan includes funding for COVID-19 vaccination programs, schools, and local governments. It also provides increased unemployment benefits and $1,400 stimulus checks for most taxpayers. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson has signed legislation banning nearly all abortions in the state. Supporters hope it'll force the U.S. Supreme Court to revisit Roe v. Wade. Governor Hutchinson had expressed reservations about the bill, which allows the procedure only to save the life of the mother and does not provide exceptions for those impregnated by rape or incest. Arkansas is one of at least 14 states where lawmakers have proposed outright abortion bans this year. The legislation will not take effect until 90 days after the majority Republican legislature adjourns this year's session. In Oklahoma, Governor Kevin Stitt says residents can visit their loved ones in nursing homes. The announcement came during a news conference at St. Anne's Skilled Nursing and Therapy in Oklahoma City. Visitation to long-term care facilities first closed in mid-March of 2020. The decision, Governor Stitt said, helped to save many lives. And now, after almost a year, Governor Stitt and state health officials are working to safely bring families back together. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Wind coming in at 50 miles an hour. That was the gust that we recorded up at the airport in Chanute, so no surprise, wind advisory lasting all the way into the evening hours. Are picking up some light Wednesday morning rain. This isn't really part of what we're going to anticipate for this weekend. This is just kind of early morning light rain, not going to amount to anything, and eventually we'll kick it off. We'll actually be up close to 70 degrees later on today. It's really going to be a nice day if you fight the wind. But we know late tonight and beginning tomorrow, that's when the thunderstorms begin to kick in. And once they do, it is a definition of a stationary front because it does not want to move on us. It's going to be wet all the way into the weekend, anywhere from 3 to 5 inches, pockets of 6 inches of accumulation. So flooding will definitely be a threat by the time this is all said and done.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, Mr. Food continues our world tour, and today we head to North Africa for a recipe called Simple Shakshuka.
Sounds good.
It has eggs in it.
Sounds good. Of course, your morning news continues on KOAM. CBS Morning News coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
And just in case you missed it, for our Wildcat Wednesday, we're actually going to find out how the Wildcat District is helping out with the pandemic when it comes to making sure vaccines are readily available throughout the 4 states. That wraps it up for this Wednesday edition. Stay safe out there. Watch out for that wind. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.